These soft-ass Republican conservatives could never survive being black in America for 2 minutes. You couldn't cut it. Here's the thing, guys. When we make these comments about Republicans or the Trump supporters, we want to make it very clear, guys. I mean every word of it. You don't get to break into the U.S. Capitol, spread feces on the walls, steal lecterns, beat up cops, call black customs officers or black Capitol officers nigger, and spray them with bear mace, beat them about the head with flags, the same flag that you said, because Colin Kaepernick took a knee using his First Amendment rights, you used it to beat cops in the head with it because you wanted to come in and get Nancy Pelosi a piece of your mind. You don't get to do all of that, and then after it's all over, be surprised the cops want to talk to you. If you ever wanted a clearer indication that we have a lot of white privilege going on, there you go. I don't ever want to hear another white person say, what's white privilege? I don't get it. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I had to have a job. I didn't get people feeding me grapes and chauffeuring me around when I was a kid. No, you're looking at it. You're seeing it right here in the U.S. Capitol. You saw it. You saw what happened in Standing Rock. My brothers and sisters at Standing Rock couldn't even stand at Standing Rock without getting water hosed and maced and beat with batons and locked up. Some are still locked up. Brothers and sisters who were standing their ground in Ferguson after the trauma of the death of Michael Brown, who protested that exercising their First Amendment rights, some of them are still in jail for as simple shit as throwing rocks or busting a window. And you are crying at airports because the cops want to talk to you? An officer at the U.S. Capitol reported this. That was a heavily trained group of militia terrorists that attacked us, said the officer, who has been with the department for more than a decade. They had radios. We found them. They had two-way communications and earpieces. They had bear spray. They had flashbangs. They were prepared. They strategically put those flashbangs, those bombs, in strategic places to infiltrate the Capitol. Many of the black officers called nigger so many times they can't even count. The morale in the U.S. Capitol office is so low based on what took place. They could not believe the law and order president that this part, that maybe they're looking at it like these are supposed to be the people that support cops. And what do? They come into the U.S. Capitol and abuse us and beat us. We know the Pentagon is the one that withheld the troops, guys, but I want to make it clear. They have not extensively covered how heinous these people behaved. An officer committed suicide the next day. One of the officers that was there doing his job, the next day he took his life. Do we really have to say any more about how demoralized the U.S. Customs Police? U.S. Customs, I keep saying Customs. Why the U.S. Capitol Police? And I'm not here to cape for cops. I call cops out on it. But the point is, these Trump supporters are crying to even have to answer for what they've done. They believe they should not have to answer. So, all this took place in a place that's guarded by police. Metal detectors, guys. Let's go to metal detectors. This is interesting to me because, okay, so some precautions have been taken due to the invasion. And this is why I say this is nothing but a big win for the Democrats at the end of the day. They broke in, Johnson. You broke into the Capitol. We are a laughingstock around the globe. I watched a little bit of international TV. I was talking to a friend, Sabrina Jacobs. There are world leaders across the world looking at America going, so much for your enlightened democracy. You did this. And it wasn't to get a stimulus check. It wasn't to get us health care. It wasn't to clean up the water, clean up the environment. It wasn't to take money out of politics. It wasn't to take care of the veterans. It wasn't to end poverty. It wasn't to end mass incarceration. It wasn't to end wars overseas. It wasn't to bring all the troops home. You did it for no reason. You have no clear reason. No ask, nothing. If you'd have took 10 of the invaders and took them separately and said, why are you doing this? They'd have gave you some empty-ass platitude reason like, oh, it's a revolution. So the vote, you can't steal the vote. And we have to stand up. Nothing concrete was asked for. So now we have the Democrats getting leverage out of it and some rules being changed at the Capitol. Are we really surprised that now they put metal detectors up in the Capitol? Metal detectors because some Republicans like to bring their guns with them to the Capitol. And now they have metal detectors because now they have to step up what? They have to step up security. And there are Republicans that are opposed to stepping up security in the same way they were opposed to wearing masks in the Capitol. Rashida Tlaib posted this on Twitter. She says, just had to go through a metal detector before entering the House floor. Some colleagues are frustrated. Guess which ones? Frustrated by this requirement. Now they know how high school students in my district feel. Suck it up, buttercups. Y'all brought this on yourselves. It takes a large amount of audacity. And look, guys, if I go to a club and it gets shot up and there's some extreme amount of violence that takes place, the next week I go, if it's still a club available, it's still a club there, because they shut them down for those reasons. But if there's a club and they have a little bit more security, I understand. It wasn't like the metal detectors were only for Republicans. You get where I'm coming from? What level of entitlement these assholes have? You would have thought it was a Republicans only dining room, Republicans only entrance, and a Democrats only entrance. These soft-ass Republican conservatives could never survive being black in America for 2 minutes. You couldn't cut it. That's why you had to go and steal us from our land, bring us and enslave us. You can't cut it. You can't even cut going into your place of business through a metal detector. You're not being singled out. You can't even deal with that. You're blubbering in your Constitution. Little Constitution book that got tucked in the back pocket, they're blowing snot bubbles in it. Listen. I love Cori Bush, and I love the way Cori Bush put this. This is very succinct and to the point.
There was a strange thing that happened on the floor tonight. I know you weren't there, but we've been getting reports. I think due to security concerns, which frankly are a little unnerving, which I think are some Democratic colleagues a little concerned about their Republican colleagues, there were magnometers, metal detectors placed for members to pass through on entrance into the House chamber itself. So that members who are carrying, Lauren Boebert, freshman member, who's very vocal about the fact she wants to carry, there was then a standoff and a bunch rushed around or rushed through, or one knocked over, apparently, a Capitol Police officer, or bumped into a Capitol Police officer, I should be precise with my language, and have basically just evaded it and said, this doesn't apply to us. And I know you're not there. That's what we know so far. I mean, more facts, but just your reaction to that. Many of the people are the kinds of people I think that voted, to overturn the election as well.
So when I went in, I didn't see that take place. There was a line of people that were waiting to go through the metal detectors. So in the place where I was, people were just waiting in line, and we went through without incident. But for those that did that? First of all, we're talking about your job. Let's just look at it from the most basic level. If you work at McDonald's, you have to wear the uniform or you're not working today. If you are, wherever you are, when you're told this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do, or you're not working. And I don't know, maybe it's because I don't know, have they ever had a job before? Also, how do you get on a plane? You have to go. So to say that this is against your rights, do you rush through and not go through the metal detectors when you're trying to get on a plane? Like, that's a bunch of bull crap. Again, that is them trying to push the limits as far as they can. We have Congress members who have said that they want to carry their guns on the House floor. We have Congress members who bring their guns to our office buildings. This is where we should feel safe, but you're bringing your guns to the office building. I don't feel safe around that. Many people don't feel safe with that. And you know what? If they won't abide by the simple things that this job calls for, then go find another one.
Wow. There's always work at the post office, Mitch. I can't believe there are people who say I used to like Cori Bush. She's been on the job a week. The toxic level and the smearing. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Cori Bush, for speaking truth to power. I appreciate you for doing that. I admire it. I respect it. And she's absolutely correct. Once again, we're talking about entitlement. These people called other people snowflakes. That's why I like the term that Rashida Tlaib used. Buttercups. Hot Pockets. Marshmallows. I made a couple of those up myself. The point is, yes, if you can't abide by the rules of the job, this is a rule of the job. It's not singling you out. It's not making you a pariah. You're not being discriminated against. And you still can't obey. They actually pushed cops over, knocked over security because they weren't going to go through a metal detector. A bunch of fucking Karens. Let me ask you something. Do they know us? When I say they, I mean the talking heads on cable news. Do they know you? I mean, they talk about the world as if it's a sport. They play political games, report on our pain, rack our brain to feed the stock exchange, but do they know us? Do they know what we care about? Nope. They're too far away. They can't see us. They can't feel us. They can't relate to us. See, when you want to know what's going on in your world, trust someone who lives in your world. Subscribe.